We are getting towards the closing stages of our inaugural Championship Gauntlet Battle. 5 races have come and gone, with only 3 remaining, as our next location brings us to the Martinsville Speedway for the Houlihan's Bar and Restaurant 500. Hello everyone and welcome back to some more exciting Power V8 Cup Series action. Today it makes our second trip to the half-mile paperclip here in Virginia. Is going to be a very exciting race. The Championship Gauntlet Battle continues to heat up more and more as our true contenders are starting to take place and shape, as we just have 3 more races to remain before we crown the inaugural V8 Cup Series champion. Without further ado, let's go trackside to get you caught up with the latest headlines going into today's race. Take a look and see how the Championship Gauntlet standings are stacking up coming into the final stretch of this championship battle. Christian Russell was able to hang on and improve upon his points lead in the last race, finishing the highest of the Championship Gauntlet contenders. He'll stretch his lead to an impressive 259 points, a very good gap over the likes of Ethan Hayden in that second place position, who is behind by 21 points. Just a few points off of him is Seishin Tomioka in that third position, still trying to hang in there as well. Tomioka hoping to build a very good stretch of momentum coming to both here at Martinsville and the next race at Talladega are both the tracks he has won at this season. So Tomioka is looking to replicate some similar success to be able to improve his championship push. He sits just a few points behind of Ethan Hayden. And just a couple points back off of them is Chris White, one of the final drivers who we believe has a realistic chance at being able to secure the V8 Cup Series championship, falling a little bit behind on the points, but nonetheless still within a reach of Christian Russell. Chris White going to need to have himself a good performance here today and in the next few races if he wants to be able to climb his way up that gauntlet ladder. As for the next few drivers, as mentioned, they're going to need a good bit of luck to swing their way and have some pretty good performances in these next few races if they want a shot at winning the V8 Cup Series Championship. Ruben Gonzalez and Roberto Crown Jr. are in the exact same boat, both tied with 222 points apiece. They sit almost a full race's length distance outside of the points lead, but just barely staying within that 1 race gap. Both Roberto Crown and Ruben Gonzalez, they will be starting from the back in today's race. They're going to need some luck to go their way if they want to be able to continue to crawl ahead in the point standings and to start limiting some of that damage control that they've had in the past few races. Some guys just behind them as well. Brett Bishop off by about 6 points. He's one of the first drivers who is out of a full race's length distance worth of points. So Brett Bishop going to really need to step it up here in this race along with the next few drivers as mentioned. Bishop also going to be starting deep in the field in today's race, so he's going to have a lot of work to do if he wants to be able to continue to crawl out of that points gap. Justin Henley, a couple points off of him as well. Same boat. Coming here to a track he's had a lot of success at here in Martinsville. Finished second in our race earlier this season. Henley going to look to have a standout performance today, as the short tracks tend to be his bread and butter. We'll see if he can capitalize on today's event. And just behind him, James Fletcher as well. The second to last driver in the gauntlet standings. It is really not looking good for James Fletcher. He's going to be starting dead last in this race, and he is just about the second most points away from our championship leader Christian Russell. Not too sure how James Fletcher is going to be able to get himself out of this hole, but he's going to need a lot to go his way if he's going to be able to do so. And last but not least, arguably the most unluckiest driver in the championship gauntlet, Owen Scott, is the last of our gauntlet contenders. He will be starting towards the upper half of the field today, so he's going to look to be able to capitalize on that chance. But Owen Scott, so far, in the first 5 races of the championship gauntlet, has only scored 1 singular point. He's had a lot of chances to get himself some great finishes. Indianapolis looked like it was his to win, and he had a couple of other races where he ran in the top 10, top 15 majority of the race, but just got caught up in a wreck of something that wasn't his own doing and took him out of all of those races. Owen Scott is going to really need his luck to turn around here in these final 3 races if he even wants a chance to coming anywhere close to the championship lead. Alright, with the gauntlet standings all matched up and presented to you, let's go ahead now and take a look at our starting lineup for today's race. 48 cars would enter for the field, but of course only 42 can make it to the main event. And the quickest of those being David Dixon, claiming another pole this season. He will line his Sinclair Canada Racing Honda on the front row. SCR as a whole did a tremendous job getting all 3 of their Hondas inside of the top 20 in qualifying. We'll see if Honda can get themselves another victory today. Cody Goforth as well going to line up on the outside of Dixon. Goforth getting rid of some of those qualifying woes, and I believe this is the best qualifying position he's had all year, so we'll see if Goforth can capitalize it. He ran very well here at Martinsville earlier in the season. Another guy who ran really well here is Daniel Smith. I believe he finished in the place he is starting. The part-timer for Vortex Racing, trying to prove to his owner Brett Bishop to give him a full-time shot for next year. And to his outside will be Adam Wilson in the 00. Row 3 will be a pair of team owners in Leland Hill and Miles Mashburn. And in row 4 we'll see John McFadden and Priya McShane. McFadden turning around his D&Q from last week, qualifying in the top 10. And Priya McShane trying to build upon her momentum, coming off of another runner-up place finish at Atlanta. The race looked like it was hers to win, but unfortunately she just came up short for the second time this season. She finished second, but she'll look to try to capitalize off that once again. She'll roll off in the 8th position. And rounding out our top 10 will be John Ritson and Christian Vargas. Just outside those top 10 positions, we'll see the likes of J.Q. Halleck and Herbert Oaks III. And in row 7, we will see Owen Scott, our highest of the gauntlet contenders to qualify. He will roll off in the 13th spot with Landon Laudenbach to his outside. Row 8, it is a JCM lockout with Already Alejo and Solomon Sheridan, the 2 teammates, making up 15th and 16th. Myron Felder, the lowest qualifying Honda, still to qualify 17th, very impressive. And Justin Henley, another gauntlet contender, on his outside. Rounding out the top 20 will be Zachary DeLello and Chris White. Chris White, the final of the only 3 gauntlet contenders to qualify in the top 20. The rest of the gauntlet contenders will have some work to do to make their way up to the points. Just outside those top 20 positions, we're going to see the likes of Ben Crouch and Chris Parker, the 2 teammates set for next year's Thunder Light Series for Sinclair Canada Racing. And behind them in row 12, we will have the likes of Christian Russell and Josh Moore. Russell, our current gauntlet points leader, he will have some work to do to get up to the points, but not as much as some others, that is to say the least. Row 13, we'll see the likes of Brett Bishop and Roger James. Bishop, another gauntlet contender, trying to improve his standings position right now. He is currently 7th in the gauntlet standings. Just behind them, we will have the likes of Ethan Hayden and Dylan Hayden, the Hayden and Hayden show. Ethan currently 2nd in the gauntlet standings, and Dylan coming off of his first career win, pulling off the upset at Atlanta last week. Always great to see. They will make up the 14th row. And finally, in row 15, we'll see Zachary Fitzwater Sr. and Dale Cole Jr. Cole Jr. coming off of his first career top 10 last week at Atlanta. Outside the top 30, in row 16, we'll see the likes of Arvin Basic and Jeff Bolton. And in row 17, 2 part-timers will make it up in Alexander Rowe and Ricky Freeman Jr. Both of them will be going full-time next year. And behind them, we'll have the likes of Ronnie Martin and Nelson Reeves, followed by another pair of gauntlet contenders, Seishin Tomioka and Ruben Gonzalez, going to have a lot of work to do to make their way up to the front and in the points. And rounding out the top 40 for today's race is going to be Carl Untesweffer and Mitchell Collins. And finally, rounding out the last 2 positions of those who would make it in would be the likes of Roberto Crown Jr. and James Fletcher. These 2 having to use their top 15 in provisionals in order to make it into today's race, and both of them going to have the most amount of work to do out of any of the gauntlet contenders if they want a shot at getting in the point standings. James Fletcher currently sits 2nd to last in the gauntlet standings, and Roberto Crown Jr. currently tied for 5th. Both of them need a lot to go their way to be able to improve their points positions. Those who would unfortunately miss out on today's race would include the likes of Blake Parker, Cam Wright Sr., Devon Fair, Riley Hill, Adrian Rojas, and Nick Kennedy. Some of those guys really expecting to pull a good result out of today, but unfortunately couldn't even make it into the field. That being said, that is your starting lineup for today's Houlihan's 500. Before we begin with today's race and festivities, we do unfortunately have some saddening news to bring you. Boston Jones has unfortunately passed away. Many of you, I'm sure, know of Boston. He was a well-known member in the community. He was a driver here in our series for the majority of the races. Jones wasn't planning on coming back next season with his team, but still, regardless, is very, very sad to see that we have once again lost another life here in the NR community and here in the Power Series world. Once again, like we stated earlier in the season, if you or anyone you know may be going through any sort of suicidal thoughts, tendencies, or depression, do not be afraid to reach out to either give them the help they need or to get the help that you may need. On the screen is going to be a bunch of different suicide prevention resources and sites and numbers that you can use to be able to find the help that you or your loved ones may need. As always, it's always sad to see someone take their own life, and once again, we are here in the memory of Boston Jones, and we hope that he rests in peace. All right, the field and the crowd is ready to get set with just 3 races remaining in the gauntlet. Let's go trackside for the command here at Martinsville.
Drivers, start your engines!
All right, the field of 42 is alive and fired away. This is going to be the quickest pace lap in the entire series, so we'll get you your track facts very, very shortly to you. 125 laps is going to be the distance for today's race. No pit window is expected for these drivers, with it being a very cool day here in Virginia, 61 degrees Fahrenheit, with the wind coming in from about 11 miles per hour from the northwest direction. Take a look at our gauntlet position drivers to the left. The highest of those starting in the field will be Owen Scott at 13th, lowest of them being James Fletcher starting all the way in dead last. Pace cars in, David Dixon and Cody Goforth are going to lead us down to the green here at Martinsville. Trouble in the back, Zachary DeLello already around. As you see here, big crash, many cars getting involved here in a gigantic stack up. Looks like the caution will come out here as we see the cars race back to the line. Daniel Smith in the 87 car is going to win that race back to the line. You're going to see the rest of the field get wound up here. We'll go ahead and get a replay, see exactly what brought out the caution here on lap 1. All right, we'll go ahead and get a replay here. This chaotic start. You're going to see Zachary DeLello dive to the inside, just making his rounds. And I think Sheridan, yep, he's going to clip the 90 of Landon Laudenbach into the 70 of Zachary DeLello. And then that ahead will just cause some more chaos and carnage with a couple other cars getting involved. Ben Crouch getting spun around. Once again, take another look here at the incident. Pretty minute. The 10 is going to clip the 90 right into the 77 of Zachary DeLello. And then up ahead there, you're going to see Solomon Sheridan get clipped by the 75. Ben Crouch also going to go around, and the rest of the field just going to have to almost come to a complete stop just to try to avoid the chaos. Another brief look here of the incident, just coming off the corner. 77 of Zachary DeLello going to get involved. And you're going to see the likes of the 10 and 03 also find themselves spun around as well. Take one more look at the restart here. That'll bring us under caution after the very first lap. Solomon Sheridan hooking the 90 of Landon Laudenbach and taking out Zachary DeLello and Ben Crouch along with him as well. Caution is out for the first time today here in Martinsville.
Adrenaline junkie? Isn't it time you tried Ego Chaser and took things to the limit? Enjoy these sexy shots of extreme sports and base jumping. But we mostly sell energy bars to desperate middle-aged men who haven't played sports for years, but are suddenly obsessed with triathlons. Hey, you could be a super athlete, even though you have an office job and a family you ignore. You don't have time for real friends. You're a warrior. It's an energy bar that's all about you. How big is your Ego Chaser?
Okay, welcome back everybody here to the Martinsville Speedway for the Houlihan's 500. We are under caution for the first time today after the lap 1 incident involving the likes of Solomon Sheridan, Justin Henley, the 77 of Zachary DeLello, and the 90 of Landon Laudenbeck. As far as we know, all of these drivers should be able to continue on. None of them got too much damage or hit the wall too heavy of an impact at least. And for the most part, we believe that those four should be able to continue. Martinsville, one of the few tracks where damage isn't the biggest factor or concern in the world. You obviously don't want to have it, but it's not going to affect you like it would on most other tracks. So far, Daniel Smith has reached out and grabbed the lead on the initial start, and he is going to try to run away and not look back here with this restart coming up. As you see here, the lights on the pace car are coming out, and the field about ready to get restarted here on lap 6, going on to lap 7. David Dixon going to try to apply some pressure and get the pull back for him, as we will see now. Pace car dives in, field approaches the restart zone, and the green flag is in the air. We are restarting back at Martinsville. Smith gets a good jump on the restart here. See the rest of the field flying through. For the most part, single file. Couple cars getting out of line on that high side. Right now, Cody Goforth trying to find a good line through. His car doesn't look to be turning as well as he'd like it to. Started in second. He's fallen all the way back to fourth here on this initial start. Meanwhile, David Dixon still trying to apply some pressure to the 87 of Daniel Smith. But right now, Smith holding his own, building up a little bit of a couple car lengths between himself and the leader. Also, a little bit of the gauntlet battle. Owen Scott, so far, has got himself inside of the top 10, highest of the gauntlet contenders. As we're seeing more trouble here, Herbert Oakes going around. That is going to bring the caution out. It looks like he's going to save it, but nonetheless, could have been a very bad accident in front of the field. Caution going to come out for the second time today here on lap 9. We watch the race back to the line, and it's going to be won by Daniel Smith. So a little bit of a minute accident there, going to bring out the caution for the second time today. We'll go ahead and get a replay. Get a replay of the second caution of the day. Herbert Oakes looks like he's going to get hooked by possibly his own team owner, Christian Russell. Yes, he is. His own boss going to hook him straight to the left and right into the 10 of Solomon Sheridan. Sheridan, for the second time today in the first 10 laps, getting involved in an incident. Another look here as the two Robin Hood Racing cars are going to get together. Luckily for Herbert Oakes, he's not going to get hooked all the way across the track. Sheridan was there to kind of help break his spin there. But nonetheless, caution still going to come out for a little bit of debris coming out on the track and for the hazard taking up the track. We'll get one more look here of this incident. Pretty minor accident. Again, Herbert Oakes very lucky he didn't go all the way around and that Solomon Sheridan was able to break that spin. Nonetheless, caution is going to come out for the second time today here at Martinsville.
Pablo Rebazar makes $28 million a year. Dwayne Aller makes $35 million a year. You make $10 an hour. Failure this deep calls for a deep, slow brewed beer. Lager, the official beer of American baseball. These guys are at the top of their game. You're at the bottom. Relive your glory days. Have a lager.
Welcome back everybody here to the Martinsville Speedway for the Houlihan's 500 Gauntlet Race. Under caution for the second time today due to the lap 9 incident involving Solomon Sheridan, Herbert Oakes III, and Christian Russell. All three of those drivers are going to be able to continue on. We're going to get restarted here on lap 15 once we cross the line. So far, Daniel Smith has been able to lead every single lap of this race. Took the lead on the very first lap and has not been able to look back since. Hasn't also been able to get very far as the restart is back out here at Martinsville. Cody Goforth immediately dives way up the track. We've been noticing that 60 car does not appear to be turning like he's been wanting it to, and as a result is just not working out for the Fitzwater Australia Racing Dodge as he is struggling on that high side. Meanwhile, though, Daniel Smith gets a good restart, going to build up a couple car lengths between himself and David Dixon, but the caution already out. Looking to be a pretty big crash. Looks like a good bit of cars with some damage. Caution is out once again for the third time today. Get a replay of this restart here. 2 wrecks, and one of them very major and happened after the caution. Here's the first wreck that will bring out the initial caution. Arvin Basic going to get into the wall, back down into Mitchell Collins, and Roberto Crown Jr. is going to get a piece of them. Then up ahead at the front, we're going to see 3 wide between Ricky Freeman Jr., last race winner Dylan Hayden, and Seishin Tomioka. They are going to go around at the end of the caution. James Fletcher has nowhere to go into them. And you're going to see Roberto Crown Jr. just slam into the 48 of his own teammate. And I think that is going to end the day of Roberto Crown Jr. Some huge championship implications in this wreck as Roberto Crown Jr. going to get himself involved in both of these incidents. 3 of our gauntlet contenders are involved in this one. As you'll see here now, these guys going 3 wide ahead, and it just will not work out with Tomioka, Freeman, and the 48 of Dylan Hayden. Absolute chaos here at Martinsville, and it's going to dearly cost the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. He's definitely going to be out of this race after it. As you'll see, the 02 also slams into the 44 as well after that. Go on board with Roberto Crown Jr. as we are going to see his bad day go to worse. As he's going to get involved in not 1 but 2 of these incidents on lap 15. Having to go by the 44 and the 02. And then coming up ahead, he's going to get into the 48, his own driver, Dylan Hayden. It's just not going to go well for Roberto Crown. Oh. Never good to see there. Take one more look at all the incidents that will bring out the caution for the 3rd time today. Lots of chaos and carnage, taking out and costing some gauntlet contenders very dearly, as you'll see up ahead. As we mentioned, 3 of them going to be involved in this wreck. Seishin Tomioka, James Fletcher, and Roberto Crown Jr. And Crown Jr. unfortunately going to get the worst of them. We'll be right back after this.
At Fly US, your business is important to us. That's why we treat you like shit. We know you have a choice when choosing an airline: awful, dreadful, or terrible. And we promise you, we're striving to be awful. Fly US. Sit back, relax, and shut up.
All right, welcome back everybody here to the Martinsville Speedway under caution for the 3rd time today due to the incidents involving the likes of Mitchell Collins, Ricky Freeman Jr., Roberto Crown Jr., the 25 of James Fletcher, Arvin Basic, and Seishin Tomioka. Luckily for Crown Jr., his team was able to get the damages repaired for him, but he'll still be 1 lap down as you're seeing 2 of the JCM cars ahead of him also involved in that crash. Mitchell Collins is expected to be the only car from that wreck that will be out of the race. So good to see Crown Jr. is going to be able to continue, albeit he is, I believe, 1 lap down at the moment and definitely at risk of suffering some more. But if he can at least survive through the chaos and carnage of this race, I think that's what he is trying to do. We've not been able to pull together a real green flag run so far. And I believe we're about through almost the first 20 laps of this race. Pace car about to pull in. Daniel Smith will lead us back to the green once again for the 3rd time today. Coming up to the restart zone, the 87 going to lead us down to the green once again on lap 21. Sliding through the first corner, Smith goes up way high, he's into the wall, contact with Dixon. They're able to save it, but David Dixon able to get the lead. Daniel Smith threw it in way too hard in the corner. Went up the track and almost caused a wreck with the leader, and we've got a wreck anyway. Zachary DeLello back around once again for the 2nd time today. Dixon will lead us back to the green as he has gotten us back to the caution for the 4th time today. Get a replay of Zachary DeLello's restart, which was not very good. It initially starts off with him slamming into the outside wall, immediately getting off of 4. And then looks like he might just get clipped. That car not really working for him. Yeah, he gets back into the wall, cuts back in front of Arvin Basic, and nowhere to go. Very simple spin there. Zachary DeLello once again going around today. Want to get a replay of this restart, as well as you'll see Daniel Smith going to slam hard into the outside wall coming out of the exit at 2, enter the corner way too high, got way too much of a run into the corner, almost takes out the like of David Dixon and Leland Hill. Could have caused a huge wreck up at the front, but they were very, very lucky not to. Daniel Smith able to hang on to that second place spot. We'll take one more look here at the spin that's going to bring out the caution. Zachary DeLello's car not really working well for him, as he's going to slam into the outside wall both times here in the corner, and it's just not going to work out well for the 77. Caution is out for the 4th time today.
Apocalypse is coming. Will it be aliens, zombies, or a global financial meltdown? Whatever it is, you need to be prepared. Get your complete apocalypse kit at Ammunition. Contains foodstuffs and alcohol for 3 months. A massive array of armaments. Water purifier so you can drink your own urine. And cyanide pills so you can go out like a man. Don't dial 911. Dial 357. Ammunition. Protecting your rights.
Welcome back, everybody, here to the Martinsville Speedway under caution for the 4th time today with the lap 21 incident involving the likes of Arvin Basic and Zachary DeLello. Those two should be able to continue on. We do believe that the 3 that are a lap down currently is Arvin Basic, the 43 Carl Untersweffer, and the 21 Roberto Crown Jr. So far, the only one we've lost in this race is Mitchell Collins. As David Dixon will bring us back down to the green, we'll see if we can get ourselves some better racing this time. Green flag back in the air here on lap 27. John McFadden going way up high on the track here. Take a look at the overhead view of the field, see if we got any action going on here. Possibly some 3-wide battles throughout, but for the most part, field going to stay pretty calm and collected. Right now, David Dixon going to jump out front and reclaim the lead. The pole, that was his. As right now, Leland Hill trying to fight to the 2nd spot. Cody Goforth trying to hang on to that 4th spot. Oh, John Ritson hard in the wall, and he is around. We'll see if anybody else hits him. Yes, they do. Herbert Oakes does. Ritson with a lot of hard contact, and I'm sure that'll bring out the caution once again. Herbert Oakes with a lot of damage to that front end of the car, and he is really causing a lot of cars to get stacked up in the back as they try to race to the line. Will we see a wreck between some more of the Gauntlet contenders? No, it does not look like it. They will get it woed down just in time. So, caution back out once again. It has been a very wreck-filled race to start. Take a replay of the incident here. You're going to see John Ritson just enter the corner way too high, going too deep into the wall, right into Miles Mashburn, who will clip him around. And then Herbert Oakes III just unfortunately has nowhere to go and slams right into the back of John Ritson. Take a look at the damage the 38 car is going to suffer. He's going to take a tremendously vicious hit to the rear of the 17. You're also going to see the 43 get a little bit of a piece as well. But for the most part, Herbert Oakes looks to me he's going to see a tremendous amount of damage. Not sure if he's going to be able to really continue on after that. As you'll notice, he has to pull off and come to a complete stop after the end of the caution. John Ritson going to cause a domino effect on lap 26, as it has been a very caution-filled race. The intensity has been picked up even higher than the first race this season, and as a result, we are seeing a good bit of incidents. Caution is out for the 4th time today.
Fuck you, Baltimore!
If you're dumb enough to buy a new car this weekend,
You're a big enough schmuck to come to Big Bill Hell's Cars!
bad deals,
Cars that break down!
thieves,
If you think you're gonna find a bargain at Big Bill,
you can kiss my ass.
it's our belief that you're such a stupid motherfucker.
You'll fall for this bullshit.
Guaranteed.
If you find a better deal,
Shove it up your ugly ass!
you heard us right.
Shove it up your ugly ass!
Bring your tray.
Bring your title!
Bring your wife.
We'll fuck her!
That's right, we'll fuck your wife.
Because at Big Bill Hell,
You're fucked 6 ways from Sunday.
take a hike
to Big Bill Hell.
home of challenge pissing!
That's right.
Challenge pissing!
How does it work?
If you can piss 6 feet in the air straight up and not get wet,
You get no down down payment.
Don't wait.
Don't delay.
Don't fuck with us or we'll rip your nuts off.
Only at Big Bill Hell's.
The only dealer that tells you to fuck off.
Hurry up, asshole.
This event ends the minute after you write us a check.
And it better not bounce or you're a dead motherfucker.
Go to hell.
Big Bill Hell's cars.
Baltimore's filthiest.
And exclusive home of the meanest sons of bitches in the state of Maryland.
Guaranteed.
Welcome back, everybody, here to the Martinsville Speedway. Under caution for the 5th time today. It has been a wreck-filled race, to say the least. Under caution again for the wreck involving the likes of J.Q. Halleck, John Ritson, the 38 of Herbert Oaks, Carl Untis-Wefford Jr., and the 72 of Miles Mashburn. All these drivers are expected to continue on in the race, although some of the drivers like John Ritson having to go a lap down due to repaired damages. Herbert Oaks going to be about 3 laps down, as we'll catch you up with some of the drivers who are caught under a lap down, including the likes of Ronnie Martin, Alexander Rowe as well. James Fletcher caught down a tremendous amount of laps so far. He's about 12 laps down, just been trying to repair these damages, but it just really has not been looking good for Fletcher and his gauntlet hopes. Another driver who's having a terrible race and really been having a lot of bad luck in this gauntlet is Roberto Crown Jr. as well. Only a 3rd place finish at Watkins Glen has been his only points finish to start in the gauntlet. Otherwise than that, Roberto Crown Jr. has had some pretty terrible luck throughout the entirety of this championship event. Pace car comes back down pit road. David Dixon going to lead us back to the green once more. We'll see if we can get a green flag running, but I highly doubt it. Green flag back in the air as David Dixon leads us to the field. Leland Hill going to dive it to the inside of Daniel Smith. Smith does not get a good restart here, as you are seeing the 87 fall to the 3rd position, possibly going to fall to the 4th position to Cody Goforth as well. Owen Scott looking to make some moves under his driver. Daniel Smith, though, making some contact right in front of the gauntlet contender of Owen Scott. Scott trying to get around. He's going to go 3 wide on these guys, just trying to get out of there. Daniel Smith really losing control of his car, and he is dropping like a rock throughout the field. Owen Scott making major moves right now, the gauntlet contender. So is Justin Henley, 2 guys who really need good runs. They are having them right now, and I believe they're the only gauntlet drivers in the points at the moment. Here comes Owen Scott pushing his way through up into the 4th position, breaking his way through the top 5. Justin Henley right on the rear to do the same. Meanwhile, up at the front, Leland Hill closing in on the 45 of David Dixon. We may see a good battle for the lead here as Leland Hill trying to combat and lead some laps. We haven't really seen him lead much besides the super speedways. Leland Hill showing he's having a very good race today. So is Cody Goforth, finally getting his car where he wants it to be. Currently right now in that 3rd position as these drivers attacking the track. Owen Scott in the 4th position, Justin Henley in the 6th position are 2 gauntlet contenders, and they are deep in the gauntlet field as well. Henley, I believe, sits in 8th, while Owen Scott is last of the gauntlet contenders. He's only scored 1 point. Scott would definitely be in a much better position had he had some luck go his way. He looked to have many of top 10s and top 15s throughout the course of the gauntlet, just has not been able to finish them out like he has wanted to. Hopefully Martinsville today here is the good day for him to get some good points badges. He's really going to need some luck to happen as, well, it looks like it could be appearing to finally go his way. Christian Russell not having himself a very good race or gauntlet points leader. He got caught up in the early wreck you saw earlier, and right now only runs in the 25th position, so he still has a good bit of work to do to sniff anywhere near those point spots. Justin Henley trying to catch up to the 87 of Daniel Smith. It is appearing that the field finally starting to settle down a little bit. You're seeing Landon Lonneback and Priya McShane battle it out just outside of the top 10. This is for the 11th spot, actually, to be exact. But right now, 3 cars under a blanket. Just about half a second separates the top 3. Leland Hill really trying to put some pressure onto David Dixon, as he has been leading a good bit ever since lap 21 now. He's been leading for 20 laps straight, so good to see for David Dixon. As right now, field finally getting themselves separated and I guess comfortable in this race, settled in. We're finally seeing a good stretch of some green flag racing. Leland Hill right now, though, trying to provide some pressure on the 45 of David Dixon, looking to see if there's any alternate lines that he can go, find some grip elsewhere here on this track. As right now, the top 3 just keeping themselves very honest and very close within reach. Cody Goforth as well, looking to improve upon his spots. It's been a very up and down season for Goforth, but throughout the past few races, the second half of the season in particular, Goforth and Fitzwater Racing as a whole, has really been able to turn around their program and get themselves back on the right track where they need to be, as that 60 car has been going pretty good. But right now, as it sits, David Dixon trying to put some space between himself and that second place spot. There's a good gap between third and fourth, and here comes Justin Henley actually trying to go to the inside of Daniel Smith for that fifth position. Henley has the inside line, and he has the preferred position. Henley, arguably one of the best, if not the best, short track racer in the entire series. He won his very first race of the season at Middle Georgia, and he came runner-up here in this exact race earlier on as well. So Justin Henley definitely knows how to get it done, and right now he's currently running in the top 5. That 75 Elite Forces racing car seems to be moving pretty good, as we've got 2 of our gauntlet contenders inside the top 15 in the points, and they currently sit 4th and 5th. Approaching the lap traffic of Herbert Oaks III, he may be a possible factors. Here comes Cody Goforth under the inside of Leland Hill for that second spot. Goforth with the position that he wants, trying to move Leland Hill up the track. That 60 car looks to have the line and maybe, just maybe, give him the position out of the corner. Yes, he does. The 60 of Cody Goforth is going to be clear of Leland Hill, and he will move himself into the second place position. Team owner Zachary Fitzwater is going to be very happy with that. So right now, David Dixon still, though, with these two battling, it's allowed him to get himself a good gap from himself to that second place position. And you're really looking ahead here. Take a look at some of these gauntlet contenders. A lot of them are struggling. Christian Russell, Brett Bishop on the tail end of the lead lap, and of course Roberto Crown Jr. a couple of laps down thanks to the struggle of a race he's had. Chris White also not doing very well himself. A lot of these gauntlet guys we've been seeing towards the front, some of our top contenders, they have been racing awfully here in this race. Is now David Dixon facing a lot of pressure from Cody Goforth. He's being held up by the 38 of Herbert Oaks, trying to find a way around him, and that has allowed the second place Goforth to catch right back up. He may be able to make a move if Dixon isn't quick enough. Oh, but Goforth actually getting the bumper put to him by Leland Hill. Hill trying to come back for that second place position. Goforth waited just a little bit too long to make that move, and now it's going to allow Leland Hill to take advantage and move him up the track. David Dixon, though, still has to find a way around this 38 car. As watch out, here comes a 25 of James Fletcher as well. He's just getting right off the track once again. He's been going back and forth off of pit road, just doing anything to keep that car running. Dixon finally getting underneath the 38 of Herbert Oaks, and it looks like all 3 of these guys are going to get Herbert Oaks cleared by the end of this corner. But still, though, nonetheless, Dixon, I know, would have liked to have gone around him a little bit sooner. Owen Scott may also be facing some pressure on Justin Henley. Remember, these two gauntlet contenders battling it out. They need all the points that they can get. Owen Scott more than anybody, as remember, he's currently last place in the gauntlet standings and only has 1 point to his championship gauntlet efforts. See now here, James Fletcher once again hops on the track just to hop off of it. That's just all he's been doing this entire race. That's all he's going to do for probably the majority of the race. I'd expect him to be, I don't know, 40 to 50 laps down by the end of this. So far, actually, he's already about 40 laps down, so never mind. He's going to be much more. At that point, I'm not really sure what the point of keeping him out there is. But anyways, David Dixon now still holding his lead about half a second over the 54 of Leland Hill. They are approaching the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. as there is a lot of lap traffic to be had in the next coming of laps if we keep it green like we have here so far. Owen Scott trying to navigate his way around through the lap traffic so far, and Daniel Smith, after falling all the way back from 1st to 6th on the past few restarts, finally getting his car to kind of where it wants to be and moving along with it. He may actually be able to move underneath the 75 of Henley, but Henley's going to get there to lap the 38 of Herbert Oaks. We're seeing here Adam Wilson currently in the 7th position so far. Wilson hasn't had too much luck throughout the last few races, but good to see him running strong in the top 10 here. Same thing with John McFadden, also having he came off a pretty decent run last week's race as well. But right now, as we're sitting here, we'll go through the rest of our top 10. Roger James doing a decent job. Elite Forces Racing as a whole, both their cars sitting inside of the top 5, so that's always good to see from those guys. And JQ Halleck also running inside of the top 10. Good to see for her, as she hasn't had the best end of the stick in terms of luck this season. David Dixon currently looking to the inside of Roberto Crown Jr. We've seen these two battle for the lead, but right now we're seeing them battle for track position. Crown Jr. about to go another lap down thanks to David Dixon, and there it is. I believe Crown Jr. will be 4 laps down now. Nope, that'll actually be his second lap, excuse me. See him here now, Leland Hill making his way around the lap traffic. And just ahead, we've got some of the damaged cars from the previous wrecks. Nelson Reeves with a little bit of some damage, Dylan Hayden as well, and John Ritson, of course, got involved in that big accident, the last caution actually, with Herbert Oaks. It's coming out just a little over the halfway mark, coming to it. 60 laps have been gone so far. We've had 5 cautions all within the first 30 laps of the race. The next 30 have been smooth sailing, very clean and clear, as these guys have gotten themselves settled in finally. For the most part, this field pretty much single filed out for the majority. Some of these drivers deeper in the points paying positions, battling for the positioning between themselves and the lappers. Take a look at this right now. Priya McShane currently in 12th, followed by the in front of the 3 of Josh Moore, and 2 of the Mountain Dew cars battling it out for those points paying spots. Already Alejo, excuse me, and Landon Laudenbach going after it. And the last of the points paying spots is Chris Parker, as the 42 of Dale Cole Jr. and the 92 of Ronnie Martin are currently a lap down. Top 3 though starting to get back within a good reach of each other, as we're seeing David Dixon approach the vast majority of the lappers here. He's got a good pack of cars in front of him, including gauntlet contender Chris White. It's going to be important for White to make sure he does not go a lap down if he wants any chance of still getting some points in this race. It's looking ever so unlikely, but still, nothing is impossible. Never say never when it comes to the VA Cup Series. Owen Scott finally getting his way around Roberto Crown Jr., and so does Justin Henley. Henley looks to make some easier work of it than Scott did. As right now our top 3 just kind of staying within reach of each other. The field at the moment running is Honda, Toyota, Dodge, Ford. That is your top 5 in terms of the manufacturers. Chris White really looking like he's about to go a lap down here. Is David Dixon right there to apply the pressure. And Chris White sitting on that high side. That's the line you never want to be on as we're approaching here. Let's take a look at Cody Goforth on board with him right now. See how he's doing, the lines he's taking and approaching this lap traffic, just trying to stay patient and use the right line. He appears to enter just a little bit lower than some of his counterparts in front of him. And that may just work out, as Leland Hill is really allowing that door to be open. And if I was Leland Hill, I would not be allowing that 60 to be getting so close to him. The 54 searching for grip in different lines across the track, as he's wanting to have a stab at the lead on David Dixon. And it might look like he's going to get it here. Dixon going to run way up high towards the track. As we see now here, Leland Hill looking to the inside on David Dixon. Hill has got the position, and he's going to get it. Now the 54, your new leader, Leland Hill, up in the lead, as he is now going to grab the lead. Cody Goforth moving to the second place position on David Dixon as well. Chris White able to survive on the lead lap for the time being, but here comes Cody Goforth now to the inside of Leland Hill. He's going to try to make the move on him. The lap traffic allowing the leaders to battle it out, and Cody Goforth going to move to the inside. Goforth now has a preferred position, and he's going to steal the lead away from Leland Hill. Some great racing we've been seeing up at the front. Here comes David Dixon now, diving to the inside of the 54, looking for that second place position. Cody Goforth now going to try to run away and see if he can put some space between himself and the second and third place drivers. The 45 and the 54 battling it out for second is Cody Goforth, putting a lap car between them. Look at Cody Goforth go. Waited to strike at the right moment, and he is doing so. He's got his Fitzwater Australia Racing teammate. He's going to make it easy work to get by him now, as Cody Goforth putting some good separation between himself and second. Going to try to lap 2 cars at once. Goforth wasting no time whatsoever trying to run through the field. David Dixon just now getting by the 22 of Chris White, and barely at that. As we are seeing now, this 60 car really making some quick work in these lappers and putting a lot of distance between himself and David Dixon. Cody Goforth looking to get his first career win. As we said, it's been an up and down season. Goforth has got a couple of some top 5, top 3 finishes. And right now he's looking to get his first career win. is absolutely on it right now, putting some good distance between himself and David Dixon. We may actually see Owen Scott and Justin Henley too. Either they're going to battle it out within each other, or they're going to catch up to the likes of Leland Hill and David Dixon. As Justin Henley actually enters way up high in that corner. That's going to allow Daniel Smith to get a good run. He may actually go by him, but nope, doesn't look like he's got enough of a run there. So now as we're seeing Cody Goforth slice and dice his way through the traffic and trying to make as much maneuvers as he can, you're going to see the 39 of Christian Russell be the next one to be under the threat of going a lap down. The 60 car right now, absolutely where he wants to be. But David Dixon still trying to fight back and get back up to that 60. Got a couple of car lengths between them, but only one car separates them in terms of the positioning. And actually the 68 Goforth going to enter that corner a little bit higher than I'm sure he would have wanted, as Ben Crouch going to slam the outside wall on the exit of the corner. Coming to around just 50 laps to go now here at Martinsville. It's going to get down to the wire, crunch time here. So right now Cody Goforth has waited to strike, and he believed he found the perfect moment, as now David Dixon trying to fight around his teammate of Cody Goforth, Nelson Reeves. Reeves trying to do everything he can to hold up the traffic and the rest of the leaders for his teammate. Right now, as you're seeing, Justin Henley actually was able to manage to get around the 15 of Owen Scott. Henley will move up into the 4th position, and Owen Scott will move down to the 5th position. He may actually move down to 6th, as he is facing some pressure from Daniel Smith as well. Roger James has also moved himself up to 7th, as Adam Wilson now drops 1 position, and John McFadden appears to have possibly lost 2. A little bit of a quick brief rundown of the top 10 as it stands. But currently, Cody Goforth just minding his business, minding his P's and Q's, and trying to log the rest of the laps just to get to the end of this race here now. As you're seeing, the lap traffic has played a huge factor in this one. Going into the lappers, David Dixon was the leader, but coming out of it, it's going to be Cody Goforth. He enters very high up the corner, though. Not sure if he's saving some tires or what, just kind of putting too much pressure on himself. Goforth been entering these corners pretty high for some of the past few laps, and it's allowing to at least keep the 45 to 54 within somewhat of a reach. Not too much of a reach, but again, it is there for the time being. Right now as it sits, Goforth has about a second of a lead over the likes of David Dixon and the 54 of Leland Hill. Justin Henley, though, finds himself on that high line trying to get around these lappers that may allow Owen Scott to come back at him. We'll see, though. Henley's still facing some pressure and still being forced on that high line. He will be able to get back into line before Owen Scott is able to get there, though. And Justin Henley now, still entering the line high. Here comes Owen Scott to the inside for that 4th position, side by side. He's got the track positioning where he wants to be. And look at Roger James making his way up through the field, now going for that 6th spot on Daniel Smith. Adam Wilson may also try to make it that move as well, make Daniel Smith lose 2 spots in 1 lap. Scott had a good look on the 75 Justin Henley, but it looks like Henley was actually able to fight back and keep the position for the time being. So interesting to see between those 2 gauntlet contenders. As we mentioned, they are right now the only gauntlet drivers inside of the top 15 in points, and they are 2 of the ones that need it most. As we mentioned, Henley in that 8th spot, Owen Scott last place in the 10th position in the gauntlet standings. They're going to need everything they can absolutely get, and they're fighting very, very hard for these spots right now. Roger James may actually come in there to try to spoil the party as well, but for the time being, Justin Henley going to hang on for that 4th place position. Meanwhile, Cody Goforth getting himself up a little bit closer to some more of that lap traffic, may be able to make a move on Alexander Rowe right here, and he does. The 60 will go down and dive to the inside of Rowe. As David Dixon still has not been able to get around the 76 of Nelson Reeves. Reeves doing a fantastic job putting in some teamwork and holding up the pack for his teammate so he can go on to lead the majority of this race. And it's right now Cody Goforth still putting a lot of pressure on that 84 of Alexander Rowe. Doesn't have the line that he wants to be in just yet, but I think he's going to be able to get around him soon. So if not, I think Dixon may be able to capitalize. They just have to get around the 76 of Reeves if they want a shot at getting back up to the 60, and that may just happen here as you're seeing Cody Goforth run way up high on the track, and that's going to really allow his teammate to catch up closer to him. And David Dixon has not gotten anywhere off of his rear bumper, the 76, but here comes the 54, Leland Hill with a good run. Dixon did not get a good approach out of that corner, and as a result, it's going to really allow Leland Hill to apply some pressure and get up to that rear bumper of the 45, as we are now coming up to just about 35 to go in about 2 laps time. As we see here, Goforth really up high. It looks like his teammate is actually going to get there. That may allow David Dixon to finally get that inside line he needs. Reeves, though, still trying to let his teammate in. Can't do it anymore. David Dixon now trying to find the line. Cody Goforth stuck on the high line. Going to have to let his teammate get by him and unlap himself to be able to hold that inside line. Will Dixon make the lunge to the inside? No, does not have the positioning to be able to do so, but there is no longer any lap traffic between Cody Goforth and David Dixon. It is all for the lead here, as we're going to see now Goforth try to get back underneath his own driver in the 76 and put that separation once more between himself and the second place runners. A little bit just behind here, Owen Scott losing a little bit of time on Justin Henley. And looks like Roger James starting to lose some spots. John McFadden making his way up through the field in the pole position racing Toyota. Driving for Nelson Reeves' team, who Reeves currently faces some pressure. Dixon finally able to get around Nelson Reeves. Took him a while, but he was able to do so. Now Cody Goforth going to make quick work of Alexander Rowe. He's got to be quick as possible with these lappers. Can't waste any time here as David Dixon is following him right closely and right in suit. He's going to also lap the 44 of Arvin Basic. Basic has not had himself a very good race either, as here comes David Dixon going to try to make quick work of the two, but not going to be able to do so. That's going to allow Cody Goforth to once again build up some more momentum. He's got his eyes on 2 gauntlet contenders in front of him, Seishin Tomioka and the 39 of Christian Russell. For the majority of gauntlet contenders, it just has not been a good race for them. A lot of them been getting involved in some wrecks and issues here today. Lots of lappers battling it out with among themselves. It's David Dixon and Leland Hill still trying to fight and get their way up to Cody Goforth. Goforth now finding his way to the rear bumper of Seishin Tomioka. Another gauntlet contender, this time James Fletcher, finding their way around. Looks like they finally got that car repaired to where it's able to run more than just the pit road, but still regardless, James Fletcher is a total of 79 laps down, and he's going back in the pits once again, so it doesn't look like all the issues have been fixed on that 25 car. Meanwhile, here comes Leland Hill looking to the inside of David Dixon for that second place position. Hill trying to go back on David Dixon, but this time for the runner-up spot, and it looks like he should, coming out of this corner, have him cleared. Yes, he will. Leland Hill moving himself back up into the second place spot. But right now as it sits, Hill actually catching back up to the 60 and Cody Goforth. Goforth moves high up the track. Here comes Leland Hill to the lead. And Hill going to take the lead right back from Cody Goforth. As right now we are seeing the 54 make his way to the inside of the 60, and David Dixon right there as well. Leland Hill moves back up into the lead. These top 3 have not been able to separate each other ever since the 5th restart. We have just been seeing some great racing out of these 3. None of them been able to get too far of a lead off of one another. And here comes David Dixon to the inside of Cody Goforth. Goforth going to possibly lose out on 2 positions now. Maybe he used up his equipment a little too much on the early running, or maybe he's just trying to save it to the end. Either way, Cody Goforth falling back from the position he wants to be in, as we're now coming up to just 25 laps to go. Leland Hill is going to try to get his first career win and the second win on the season for his team, Leland Motorsports. Because right now he's looking in a great position, trying to maneuver his way through the lap traffic. He's got Herbert Oaks in front of him. He was able to make quick work of Roberto Crown Jr., but so is David Dixon. And Cody Goforth trying to make his way around as well, trying to fight his way through the surrounding traffic. Not really working out for him. One guy that is falling his way back through the field is Owen Scott. He's fallen all the way back to the 7th spot, and he might fall all the way back to the 8th spot as well. Not too good for him with his gauntlet hopes, as we're seeing now David Dixon now look for the lead. He's going to use the lap car of Herbert Oaks as a pick, and he's going to be able to get to the inside. Here comes Cody Goforth also to the inside of Leland Hill. 3 wide with the lapper of Herbert Oaks. As we're now seeing Cody Goforth and Leland Hill fighting tight side by side. Some good battles here going on. But David Dixon, once more, back to the lead. As he is going to try to reclaim his throne. Remember, he was on the pole. He's got the most laps led so far. And he's going to try to continue to build upon that. But Cody Goforth now really wants to get that second place position back on the 45 of David Dixon. Some absolutely awesome racing we've been seeing so far throughout the day. As watch out, 3 wide between some of the lappers. Justin Henley there in the back. But meanwhile, as we're seeing Cody Goforth applying a lot of pressure to the 45 of David Dixon. We've gone through a good majority of the lap traffic, so I think for the most part, they shouldn't be too much of a factor here. Goforth not going to get the entry that he wants. That's going to allow Leland Hill to come on to the attack for that second place position, and that will also allow David Dixon to build himself up some momentum while these two fight it out as well. That's going to allow him to get himself a little bit of a gap coming up to just 20 laps to go. David Dixon out in front and in control. Leland Hill and Cody Goforth, they got to get this figured out, and they do. Leland Hill moves up into the second place spot. Goforth going to have to just fall in line behind the 54 Leland Hill and see if they can catch up to the likes of David Dixon, as he is trying to go for Sinclair Canada Racing's second win of the season and get Dixon's first. Right now, though, he's got about a second of a lead over the likes of Leland Hill and Cody Goforth. Carl Untersweffer right now is the car in front of David Dixon as the first of the lap traffic. And right now, he's just kind of running his own race, putting a very good touch compared to the rest of the field. As we're seeing right now, Leland Hill, though, trying to get that pressure in and trying to find his way back up to the front, get back to the lead. Leland Hill has not been able to lead for many laps. Realistically, he's only led about 5 today, but still, he wants to be able to get back up to the front to possibly get this win if he can. He is reeling in the 45 and David Dixon shortly, and we see the 60 Cody Goforth just kind of hanging on in there. He's hoping that Leland Hill can reel him in, and that can allow him to try to get by either or the two for some more positions. So right now, seeing the gap, seeing how far these guys are, they are not very far away from each other. One mistake will reel them right back in within themselves as we are coming up to just 15 laps to go here now. Will David Dixon be able to hang on, or can Leland Hill come back? There's a little bit of time, but around Martinsville, 15 laps will go by in an instant. And right now, as we're seeing, David Dixon is clocking them more and more, just unwinding these laps. As we're seeing Cody Goforth looking to reel in the 54 Leland Hill possibly. I know Goforth wants to get around Hill, but if he does battle with him for too long, it might ruin both of the chances that they could have to get this win. Dixon now finally getting up to the rear of Carl Untersweffer. We'll see if Untersweffer will make it easy for Dixon to get around him. Right now, though, Untersweffer still currently holds his line, and that's actually allowing the 54 and the 60 to catch right back up. Dixon did not get the entry that he would have liked, and as a result, he is going to now see some pressure from Leland Hill. Hill now coming in, diving into the corner. He's really catching up to the rear of the 45. Going to dive to the inside, but David Dixon going to shut the door with just 12 laps to go. But Leland Hill now going to try to stay patient and wait for the time to strike to make his move. He may have to use the bumper here as he is getting ever so close to that 45 car. But Hill now going to enter up high in the corner. That's going to allow Cody Goforth to sneak on by down below him. A mistake by Leland Hill will cost him a shot at going for the win, as we're going to come to just 10 laps to go now as we come across the line. Cody Goforth now fighting for that second place spot, and he has it. Goforth back up into the second place position. He's going to try to take a crack at fighting for the win against David Dixon. We'll see if he can get there and make a move on the 45. Again, got to watch out for this lap traffic, as David Dixon could get held up very, very harshly here by the 43 Carl Untersweffer. Dixon trying to find a way around. He would love to just be able to get around. This may be the opportunity for him, as it is appearing the 43 has moved up the track just slightly. And there he goes. Dixon puts the bumper to the 43. He's going to nudge the nose in there. He says, I do not care. I need you to get out of my way. As here comes Cody Goforth now, really going to be able to get a run. We'll see if he can make quick work of the 43 as well. Sticks the nose in there, gets the track positioning. He's going to at least be side by side with him down the backstretch. But he's really got to make quick work of this 43 if he wants to be able to stay within close range of the 45. As Goforth will look to do so coming out of the corner. Time is really winding down here. Almost 5 laps to go. Coming up shortly. Cody Goforth dives it into the corner. Gets a great exit and entry compared to the 45 and David Dixon. Goforth really going to try to get his first win. He's came oh so close many times. Like we said, has had one of the more up and down seasons compared to some of the other drivers. But man, oh man, would a win be absolutely spectacular for the 60 of Cody Goforth. We're coming up to just 5 laps to go here. It is do or die time. Cody Goforth and David Dixon are going to fight it out for the win. With just 5 laps to go here at Martinsville. Goforth looking to the inside. He's going to try to get a much later entry into that corner, get some more power off of it. We'll see if Arvin Basic and Seishin Tomioka will be any a factor for the race for the win. Coming up to just 4 laps to go. Cody Goforth getting a really good run. He is reeling in the 45. As the 45 gets closer to this lap traffic, we may be able to see Goforth set up a second to last or last lap pass with the rate that he is going at. But right now, David Dixon trying to find his way through the traffic. He's up on the high side, though. Here comes Cody Goforth, sticking the nose, trying to get to the bumper. We'll see if he dives it in this corner. Will he be able to do so? Yes, he does. Here comes Cody Goforth. 3 wide between the lapper of Seishin Tomioka. Goforth to the lead, and he's got it. Not clear just yet, though. Still tight. Oh, they're touched. They wreck. Oh, my goodness. The 2 leaders wreck with Seishin Tomioka, and that's going to allow Leland Hill to steal the lead and the win, possibly. Oh my goodness. Wow, oh wow. Wow. Never before have we seen 2 drivers wreck for the win, but we just saw it here. Cody Goforth and David Dixon giving it their absolute all. But in return, that's going to allow Leland Hill to steal this race as long as he can make it around the last lap. Leland Hill is going to steal the win here at Martinsville. Absolutely crazy scenes. Unbelievable. I'm trying to take a look here at some of where our gauntlet contenders are. Owen Scott's really been falling back. He's outside of the top 10 now. I believe he's still in the points, but not going to be anywhere close to where he wants to be. But my goodness. So with that being said, Leland Hill is going to come around and he's going to win this race. Absolutely chaotic fashion. What a race to the finish we just saw. Like we said, David Dixon and Cody Goforth getting together will be the end of their foray for the win. As Leland Hill is going to come home and take his first career win of the season and the second win overall for Leland Motorsports. Absolutely insane race. Just what a thriller. That was great racing from top to bottom. We had a lot of action. 6 crashes in total, 6 cautions. But man, oh man, that was quite the race. That was a spectacular. Once again, congratulations to Leland Hill and the number 54 team for getting their first career win on the season. So we're going to take a replay here of the race to the finish. Coming up to just 3 laps to go, you see Cody Goforth get a great run on the 45 at David Dixon. Dixon not able to enter the corner as low as Goforth was able to. And Goforth is just going to absolutely send it. They're going to go 3 wide with Seishin Tomioka. Goforth just keeps squeezing and squeezing Dixon, trying to get him to back out, but it just doesn't work. And it ends up biting them in the ass as Cody Goforth and David Dixon both go around, and that will allow the 54 of Leland Hill to sneak on by scotch-free and take the win of this race. Coming up within the final 5 laps of the race, had you told me Leland Hill would be in the prime time position to win this race, well, I wouldn't really believe you. As you see, he slams into the wall there. That should have killed his race for the win, but got the 2 leaders wrecking themselves for the win. It doesn't matter what you do. Absolute maddening scenes here at the Martinsville Speedway. The 60 and the 45 teams definitely not going to be very pleased with each other. Cody Goforth and David Dixon racing as hard as they can for the win. Seishin Tomioka just kind of caught up as an innocent bystander in all that mess. And, well, that'll allow the 54 Leland Hill to just go right on by and say, thank you very much, I will take that, and go to the bank. One thing is for sure, some Christmas cards are going to have to be sent out of the Leland Motorsports camp to both the 45 and the 60 teams, maybe even the 53 Seishin Tomioka's team, because without it, my goodness, these 3 just going at it. Tomioka just trying to survive, and the 2 guys below him going for the win, racing as hard as they can, pinching each other up, squeezing every last minute inch of the track, and that's what it results in. Some, what a finish! Like I still cannot believe that we saw this happen here at Martinsville today. Well, all right, after the chaotic and crazy race that we saw, what a absolute spectacular race. We did see a lot of incidents at the beginning, but once we got that all cleared away, it was just nothing but some fantastic racing from then on there. But Leland Hill would end up coming home, stealing the win away from the likes of Cody Goforth and David Dixon. Leland Hill led the least amount of laps out of the top 3, those guys that were battling for the lead, but in the end, he ended up leading the most important laps, able to steal the win away from Cody Goforth and David Dixon as they wrecked each other for the win. The 60 and 45 would still come home in 2nd and 3rd place, despite them taking each other out. Adam Wilson bringing it home in 4th place position, great to see for him. He had a very good run, and John McFadden as well, sneaking his way into the top 5. Good runs for those guys as they were able to get around one of the gauntlet contenders, Justin Henley. He would end up falling to the 6th place position, look to possibly move up to as high as 4th, but still, I'm sure Henley will be very happy with the batch of points he's able to get and hopefully build upon with just 2 races left in the season. Most of the gauntlet contenders had little to no luck for this race, and I believe Henley is just one of 2 of the gauntlet contenders to finish inside of the points. Daniel Smith led the good majority of the beginning of the race, but unfortunately just continued to fall and fall back throughout it. He'd fall down to the 7th place position. Still another top 10 finish for him at Martinsville. So good to see for Daniel Smith. Josh Moore as well, finishing in 8th. One of the drivers we do not believe is returning at all next season, so good to see Moore in one of his final runs get a good, strong finish inside of the top 10. JQ Halleck, another driver needing a good finish, gets it inside of the top 10, and Roger James would be the last of the top 10. Just outside of the top 10 would include the likes of Owen Scott, the last of the gauntlet contenders to score points. Only him and Justin Henley would be able to score, so that'll be crucial. A lot of the guys up at the front, Christian Russell, Ethan Hayden, Chris White, those guys, just Seishin Tomioka, just not able to get any points, not able to score, and not able to improve upon their positions. But Owen Scott was the driver that probably needed points the most, but he definitely still will need more than an 11th place finish. Pretty much, he's going to need the same thing to happen to what happened to the gauntlet contenders next race at Talladega, and he'll need to go out and absolutely dominate Talladega if he wants any of a chance to, he'll pretty much need what happened today to happen the next 2 races. Plus, he'll need to go on to almost win or dominate the next 2 races. So, it's not looking likely for Owen Scott and his gauntlet hopes, but mathematically, there is still a chance for him. Landon Lauterbach would finish in the 12th position, followed by Solomon Sheridan in 13th. Ricky Freeman Jr. getting inside the top 15 and 14th, and rounding out the top 15 points-paying positions would actually be Zachary DeLello. Despite the 77 getting caught up in, I believe, 2 of the incidents today, he still managed to fight his way up into the top 15 points. He got himself a point, so good to see for Zachary DeLello in the 77 car. He would finish ahead of his teammate Chris Parker, who would be the first to score outside of the points-paying positions. Just below him, Brett Bishop, another gauntlet contender. Bishop needing a good haul of points. Unfortunately, he finishes just outside of those points-paying positions. Already Alejo would finish 18th, followed by Miles Mashburn in 19th, and Zachary Fitzwater Sr. would round out our top 20. Just outside the top 20 includes Fitzwater's teammate and gauntlet contender Ruben Gonzalez, finishing in that 21st spot. Priya McShane would go on to finish in 22nd, followed by Jeff Bull in 23rd, Ethan Hayden 24th, Myron Felder in 25th, Vargas 26th, Christian Russell 27th, Dylan Hayden in 28th. Nelson Reeves would finish in 29th and be the last of the drivers to finish on the lead lap. And then finally rounding out our field, the top 30 would be Seishin Tomioka. A lot of gauntlet contenders inside of those 30th to 20th place spots, including Ruben Gonzalez, Ethan Hayden, and Christian Russell. As we mentioned, really, Henley and Owen Scott were the only two gauntlet contenders to have anywhere good of a race today, anywhere decent at the very least, since they were the only two to score some points. Just outside those top 30 positions, another gauntlet contender, Chris White, followed by Ben Crouch, Ronnie Martin, and Dale Cole Jr. Ben Crouch would be the last of those, just one lap down from Ronnie Martin on to Alexander Rowe. These guys would be 2 laps down, including Arvin Basic, Carl Untersweffer, and Alexander Rowe. John Ritson would find himself 4 laps down with all the damage that he had. Roberto Crown Jr. would also find himself 4 laps down, repairing all those damages. And Herbert Oakes III would round out our top 40, going a total of 6 laps down. And finally, rounding out our field in today's race includes the likes of James Fletcher and Mitchell Collins. Fletcher was about a little over 40 laps down, right around that mark. And Mitchell Collins, surprisingly, out of all the wrecks, the chaos and carnage we had, he was the only driver that actually had to retire from the race. Everyone else was able to repair their damages enough to keep their cars running and in the event. But nonetheless, that would be the 42 finishers of the Houlihan's 500. Alright, we'll go ahead and take a look at how the Championship Gauntlet standings are going to match up after our 6th of 8 Gauntlet races. Christian Russell is still going to be your points leader. He will continue to have his 259 points. Was not able to improve upon his points positioning, but realistically nobody around him was able to do so the same. Ethan Hayden will continue to be 21 points on back, followed by Seishin Tomioka, who will be 25 points behind, and Chris White, who will also be 28 points. Justin Henley was able to leapfrog himself from the 8th position up to 5th with his 6th place spot in today's finish. He will now find himself 33 points on back of our points leader, Christian Russell. Behind him is still the tie between Ruben Gonzalez and Roberto Crown Jr. Both of them are 37 points back off of our leader. Brett Bishop falls behind, still is behind a full race's length of points with 43. Owen Scott closed the gap in just a little bit. He'll move himself up a spot, now just 52 points behind. And James Fletcher, 1 point off of him, just 53 points off of the points leader. It's going to be very intense and interesting to see how this championship battle is going to ramp up. Just 2 races remain in the season, and the next race is a absolute wild card, as we'll be going to Talladega for the CorvetteParts.net 500. That is going to be an absolutely insane race, the second to last race of the season, going to be at Talladega, our last super speedway race of the year and our last real wild card race of the season before we get to our championship main event at Middle Georgia. You will not want to miss it, as the gauntlet battle continues to get crazier and crazier, as these drivers are just racing harder and harder as the season progresses. As we said, just 2 races remain this year. You will not want to miss them right here on the V8 Cup Series. So once again, we thank you for tuning in for some more great V8 Cup Series action. We had an awesome race today, some great racing, great action, and a very dramatic finish at the end. But all in all, Leland Hill would end up claiming the victory here at the Paperclip. We will see you at Talladega for the next race. Once again, for the Corvette Parts 500. You will not want to miss it. The second to last gauntlet race. We hope to see you there.